Thanks for the terrific film and the great pleasure I had in presenting 4 films by you. Now, let's talk about this film, and let's begin with the very beginning, which is the fact that a piece by Frank Zappa is played during the Holland Festival by a contemporary an ensemble dedicated to contemporary music, conducted by Peter Edwards. For those who don't know, Peter Edwards is one of the 4 most important conductors of contemporary music, and also a distinguished composer in his own right. So this is something unique regarding what happened with Frank Zappa. He was the only one coming, let's say, from the so-called pop music, which was recognized as a composer, not just a pop musician, but as a composer.
Certainly, Frank was a composer, but as a matter of fact, the way the life of a rock musician doesn't enable you to spend all your time with composing. And I think he died very early. I think he was 50 or 51. That he just was about ready to spend all of his time composing, together with a tool called the synclavier, and then he died. So it's I think too bad that we didn't get enough of his musical mind. The way I conceived these films is I work in the way that what I call principal transformation. I look at, in my films, always at the subject matter, and I try to transform the method of the composer and the structure of the music into the structure, and the character of the music into the structure and the style of the film. And in the case of Frank, I was very struck by the idea of conceptual continuity. As a matter of fact, the 2 records in the beginning of his oeuvre, which is We Are Only In It For The Money, and the other one is Lumpy Gravy. Lumpy Gravy is a more experimental record, and We Are Only In It For The Money has more songs with little, how you say that, intermezzos or little transformations in between that lead you from song to song. As a matter of fact, the first film that I did, The Present Day Composer Refuses To Die, to me was more like the experimental Lumpy Gravy record.
The first film on Zappa.
The first film on Zappa, yes. And this film, I conceived more as We Are Only In It For The Money, because I used the tracks as much as possible, as if they were songs. So the sections of the film are songs, so to speak. That's the structure of the film. And then, of course, the last one that I wanted to make, but never succeeded, because the Frank Zappa, the pioneer of the future of music, is an in-between step. These are 2 TV versions. There's not like how I envisioned the last film, because the last film is Phase 3, which is his last record, last CD, Civilization Phase 3, in which he uses a lot of synclavier and electronic transformations. To me, this one is more like we only in it for the money, from the structural point of view.
Also regarded in some ways connected with this transformation principle. You did get and managed to get a huge amount of material from this film. I mean, you went from the archives and so on.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I used a very limited amount because Gail would give me a very limited amount. It's like the tip of the iceberg. I really saw material that was amazing already, 65, 66, that he shot himself in 60mm film. And I still hope in the future I can finish the project.
I was saying this also, in this sense. Some of the material, certainly the older one, more rock and roll, I dare to say, because it's my opinion, are very musically very banal, even bad. And we get with all the film, we get the perception how he did really became an innovator, and he was transforming everything he put his hands.
See, if you put Frank in the context of the classical music world, there is one thing I think he was great and outstanding in. Well, two things actually. First of all, he always used the newest technology and always was very inventive in using that. But the other thing which not a lot of people are aware of is his what he called acoustical space. And I think that aspect of music performance, the acoustical space, I mean, like this space has a certain kind of acoustic and will make a musical performance characteristic. I think he was really a pioneer in thinking it that way. But to give you an example, yesterday I showed a film on Edgar Varèse, and Edgar Varèse, to me, is one of the most interesting and pioneering composers.
Among the other many films that Frank did, of course we chose to present the film on Varèse because Zappa was always saying that Varèse was a major influence.
And see, it's very hard to understand what Varèse did. I mean, he was a composer who took the new discoveries in science very serious, like the absence of time or the relativity theory or quantum mechanics. Now, Frank, although he didn't study on the conservatory, had an incredible good feeling for what Varèse was, more than most composers I know. Frank really understood Varèse, so really understood the core of classical music, contemporary classical music, and I think that's outstanding, very, very special. And he knew he knew Schoenberg, Weber, and all of that. He knew John Cage very well. At the end of his life, he did a recording of John Cage's famous piece called 433.
The silent piece.
The silent piece. He recorded it for smoking a cigarette for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. which was his. Did you know that? That he recorded 433, he smoked a cigarette.
For example, in the testimony of George Duke, he says how he never, I mean, he was an organist and he never realized he could make things with the organ that Zappa told him, learn him how to do.
Yeah, that's a fantastic aspect of Frank that he could get. I think it's the same when you direct a film and you work with a crew. A good director is able to take the capabilities of his crew to a higher level, or a good conductor does with an orchestra. I think this is essential to create great art in a team form, and Frank was marvelous in that too.
And we also must recall that the name of the Zappa band was the mother of invention. Invention was something, a concept, terrible.
Yes, absolutely, but again, I really wonder what happened if he would have lived longer, in which direction he would have gone. And it's too bad that he didn't have the time to really go into what, in the end, made him tick, which is, of course, very serious and complicated music. He loved, by the way, the other composer that I made a film about Elliott Carter, and he, I would say, was the Mozart of our time. He died a couple of years ago, by the age of 103. And
since we are in Manuel Oliveira, let me just add that there was Elliott Carter and Manuel Oliveira were born in exactly the same day. December 11th, 1908. Elliott Carter died with 103 years, and as we know, Manuel Oliveira survived 3.
Yeah, there's a little joke about. See, let me just tell you. It was actually Frank Zappa in an interview who said that. There's a great American composer that not a lot of people know about, and his name is Elliott Carter. And that made me put my attention to Elliott Carter. So my great friendship with that great composer, I owe also to Frank Zappa.
But Carter was an incredible complex composer.
Yes.
It's completely outside the background where Zappa was coming.
I remember there was a television show with Frank Zappa and Chris Christopherson on American television. And
Chris Christopherson?
Yes. And they asked what kind of music are you listening to relax? So I don't recall what Chris Christopherson said, but Frank said, I listen to Elliott Carter's music, which is the most complex music I know of. Now maybe Fernier is even more complex, but Elliott's music is very intense, and Frank listened to that to relax.
Also, it's important there in this film. We have the testimony of someone, the major living composer, Pierre Boulez, who speaks about how different he sounds to Zappa was from the others coming from rock or pop music. I just want to recall that Boulez even made the record conducting pieces by Frank Zappa, which when it was published, it was was a scandal because for persons in classical music or contemporary music, someone like Boas conducting Zappa was almost a scandal.
Yeah, that shows, I mean, Pierre Boulez respected Frank, you know, so it shows that he's the kind of person that would not get involved in anything which is not, you know, which doesn't have enough potential, enough content. So Pierre Boulez working with Zappa, I think, was very significant. See, I said before that many people wanted to make a documentary about Frank Zappa and never succeeded because Gil was very, obsessive in hiding everything for many reasons. But again, the fact that I took Frank serious as a composer enabled me to make a movie. And
yeah, well, you just said that Gale was very obsessive. Nevertheless, you managed. There is a moment in the film when, guided by Diesel, the son, we go and see, I don't know if it's a basement or what it is, with the archives of the material, for example. So there is a huge amount of material, maybe not known yet that you left.
Yes, I mean that's obvious at the end of the film. Again, but it's not only music. There's a lot of film material too. I mean, Frank was a filmmaker, and again, I mean, I'm probably still the only one who saw. I'm not sure because I wasn't there for like the last 8 years. So, but still, I would love to go back into that vault and finish the project.
Actually, Frank Zappa's most famous record is 200 Bottles. What is not so known, or almost unknown, is that he also made the film 200 Bottles. And as Frank saw it, I would ask him, how is the film?
That was again a revolutionary film. It was the first film to use video. So not film material, but video as a basis for the film. So it was again very innovative and new. Shall we ask some questions?
Yes.